I've always had interest in data integrity, big data topics, and lately has been a lot of time on managing information security, especially data leakage and customer non-public information. So it seemed like an appropriate topic to come and look at the chief data officer in the context of today's marketplace and see what people are doing.
So this event was a great opportunity for a CDO strategy meeting right in Chicago to bring together leaders from across different organizations to talk about how chief data officers are fulfilling this role and implementing data and pursuing big data and the challenges around that.
When I was contacted, the topics they assembled were very relevant to the role I was planning to undertake. And this is such a new topic, but still a lot of things have to be understood in order to be successful in this role. And this is an event specifically meant for the CDOs, and which means that I will get to hear and share and learn from other CDOs who will come with a similar objective. So it's a nice learning environment.
I looked through the attendees list and stuff, and I really, I was impressed by the quality and level of attendees that were coming and the organizations that were represented. I thought it was a really good group and would be a really make for a really stimulating conversation.
Good mix of relatively senior people and some very senior people. The speakers are relevant. Workshops have been good, the breakout sessions. So in general, it's been a great way to think about things in a less pressurized context.
So my experience so far has been very positive. We've been able to get small groups together with various leaders to talk about their opportunities and challenges with data. And the great thing about this experience has been it's been an intimate setting, and it's allowed people to ask questions and impromptu get into discussions and kind of understand the lay of the land at various different organizations, allowing them to bring those insights into their own organization.
My experience has been, so far has been very good. It appears to me that everybody's taking this very seriously, and they want to be successful in their roles. They want to make a difference. And that's coming out very clearly during the interactions I'm having with them, one-on-one as well as during the sessions. And the nice thing is, we get to hear from a variety of experiences on how they're seeing this new role evolving and how it's serving their organization.
It's been good. I think that my experience here, I met a lot of interesting people, had a lot of interesting conversations, and made some sort of networking opportunities. And I think that it's going to lead to possibly some opportunities in the future as well. So I think it's been a good experience for me so far.
I've sat on round tables. I've never been to an all day on just data management, data. It's usually a portion of some other CIO conference or a larger topic at an Oracle One World type event. So it's nice to have a full day focused on this and the attendant activities.
So this event is compares quite differently to other data events that I've been at. Here, I think the smaller, intimate settings with senior level executives is a really awesome part of the event and makes this different and stand out from others, because it gives you the opportunity to speak to those executives directly at a peer-to-peer level and exchange ideas, which sometimes may not be easy to do at other venues, where it's more of an audience format and you don't have that level of intimate discussion.
This event compares very well. I mean, actually, it's one of the very well organized events, and the people they've assembled, they've invited, they've carefully chosen these roles, and make sure that anybody who comes here with a CDO role in their mind can take away a few good points back to their role. And that's important to me because we can get extremely occupied in our day-to-day deliverables. We miss the big picture. So this is very helpful to get a ringside view or a big picture view of what CDO role is going to look like.
I attend a lot, and so I think this one is interesting because it's really focused on people who are, sort of chief data people in their organizations or chief analytics people, and they're really thinking at a high level of how do you integrate all these buzzwords you hear into your actual everyday practice, and how do you kind of disentangle all the different things that people throw around. And I think that makes it valuable because I think there's a lot of confusion sometimes amongst people about exactly what all this means and how do I actually use it in my business to do something meaningful.
Well, like I said, there's true C-level IT, powerhouse executives, as well as a lot of people that, from data scientists, people that clearly know what they're talking about, a lot of perspectives. The folks who've led the breakout sessions have the right mix. They're not just talking to you, we're learning together, so I like it, yeah.
I would say that the organizers have done a very good job of finding the right people who have been in this role for some time or who are getting into this role and from a variety of backgrounds, which means that you get a very diverse viewpoint and you get to learn from their experiences. And the most important thing to me is how rapidly we can bring all these learnings together and incorporate them in my own day-to-day learnings and activities is the key thing. And I have a lot of takeaways that I can go back with after today's event.
I thought they've been pretty good. I mean, like I say, some of the folks I met, and already connected with on LinkedIn and stuff, have very impressive backgrounds, and the discussion group that I was in, it was very, it was a good group. The discussion was good, and they were all engaged and interactive. And I thought that people here were actually, they weren't just here to take a day off of work. They were here to learn something.
I think the discussion group format was particularly helpful in such a rapidly evolving space as we're in on this, especially when you take into account some of the data protection and particular new regulations both here and abroad that are driving this topic. So I think in that context, when you don't really have experts because they're so new, it's the right format for most of these for this topic today.
I think both are really good. This event kind of had a little bit of both. We did have some keynote speakers in the traditional conference format, and then we had discussion groups. And I think it was a good balance because we kind of had discussion groups and then some keynote presentations and then discussion groups again, as opposed to just kind of having the conference format with lecture series and then just breakout sessions. So I think this was perhaps different and better in some aspects, where you got a bit of both.
The discussion group format has a lot of benefits because it does bring people together in a formal setting, which means that everybody gets a chance to share their views and ask questions. In an informal setting, the discussion might be lost. So you could steer a conversation to a conclusion, or you could effectively conduct a discussion where people can learn and take away the learnings pretty effectively. So to me, this is a very effective way of exchanging ideas.
It's interesting because when I was invited down to sort of facilitate the discussion, I was like, well, no PowerPoint, no slides, how am I supposed to show things? But, I teach college and, we do a lot of this kind of discussion-based stuff. And I think it's kind of a sort of a constructivist approach to learning where people learn from each other. And it actually, I think, forcing people in the audience to actually think about the question actually is a great way to help them really learn, because just being talked at a lot of times, when it goes in one ear, out the other. So I think in some ways, I think it's actually beneficial. It forces people to really think about, like, what do you mean by the word artificial intelligence? What do you mean by the term machine learning? You know, when you hear that, what does it mean? And actually force them to like think about what does that mean and what's the definition and how do I use it and how would I build it? And you know, if I'm talking to my engineers, you know, how do I communicate with them? So I think it's useful from that perspective, and that it forces the audience to really think and not just sit there and be passive, you know?